Incisive Critical Thinking and Related Quotes by Jatindra Kumar Behra. Incisive critical thinking involves ability to analyze information, form judgment, and express ideas with clarity and precision. It is about being mentally sharp, identifying crucial points, and communicating them effectively. Incisive critical thinking, a deeper form of critical thinking, involves not just analyzing information but also actively seeking its underlying assumptions, biases, potential implications, etc. This leads to more robust understanding, better decision making, and ability to identify and address misinformation effectively. Its impact is prominent in personal growth, professional success, and societal progress. Elaboration. Critical thinking in its broader sense is the ability to analyze information objectively and form judgment. Incisive critical thinking takes the step further by developing assumptions, biases, potential consequences that shape the information and its interpretations. Given below are elements in key aspect and impact beyond analysis. Incisive critical thinking goes beyond simply breakdown of the information into its components. It involves examining the theory behind the information, the motivations, the perspectives, the potential influence that shapes it. Assumption identification. A crucial element is the ability to identify, question one's assumptions and biases, as well as those embedded in information sources. Contextual understanding. Incisive critical thinking emphasizes understanding broader context in which information is presented, including its historical, social, and cultural influence. Impact assessment. It involves evaluating potential consequences of different interpretations and actions based on analyzed information. It involves not just identifying problems and the solutions, but also understanding underlying assumptions, biases, and logical fallacies that may be present. Its impact is far-reaching, influencing decision-making, problem-solving, and even personal growth by fostering intellectual curiosity, willingness to consider diverse perspectives. Beyond logic. While logic is a key component, critical thinking also involves emotional intelligence such as curiosity, humanity, lifelong learning. Conscious incisive critical thinking is not a one-time skill, but a continuous process of learning and improvement. Greater self-awareness and enhanced problem solving. Incisive critical thinking equips individuals with the tools to identify problems, analyze their causes, and develop solutions. Understanding one's own biases and thought pattern leads to greater self awareness and personal growth. Adaptability and innovations. By fostering open mindedness and willingness to learn, incisive critical thinkers adapt change and innovation in various fields. In essence, incisive conscious critical thinking is about thinking deeply, questioning thoroughly, forming well reasoned judgment to navigate the complexities of the world around us. Now I am coming to the quotes. The first principle is that you must not fool yourself. You are the easiest person to fool, Richard Feynman. Inter- Interference of self awareness and recognizing one's biases while evaluating information. A theory, second, a theory should not attempt to explain all facts because the sum of the facts are wrong. Francis Crick. Third, don't get assumption for granted. Begin by taking a skeptical attitude towards anything that is conventional wisdom. Make it justify itself. It usually cannot. Be willing to ask questions about what is taken for granted. Try to think things through yourself. Noam Chomsky, great American dissident leader. Fourth, the important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. Albert Einstein. You have a brain and a mind of your own. Use it and reach your own decision. Napoleon Hill. Sixth, an unexamined mind is not worth living. Socrates. You do not win by struggling to the top of caste system. You win by refusing to be trapped within one at all. Newman Wolf. A. Line. A third-rate mind is happy when it is thinking in a majority. A second-rate mind is happy when it is thinking in a minority. A first-rate mind is happy when it is thinking alone. A. Responsibility to yourself means refusing to let others do your thinking, talking, and naming of you. It means learning to respect your own mind and use your own brain and instincts and hence grappling with hard work. Anajani. When we blindly adopt religion, a political system, a literary dogma, we become autonomous, we cease to grow. Anatole France. And education is not how much you have committed to memory or even how much you know. It is being able to differentiate between what you know and what you do not know. 13. Bell hooks. 12 bell hooks. Critical thinking requires us to use our imagination, seeing things from perspective other than our own and envisioning the likely consequence of our position. Bertrand Russell, the opinion that held with the person are always those for which no good ground exists. Indeed, person holder is a lack of conviction. Carol Med, people can be extremely intelligent, have taken critical thinking course, and know logic inside out. Yet, yes, they may become clever debaters, not critical thinking, because they are unwilling to look at their own biases. Confucius, learning without thought is a labor lost. That without learning is perilous. Desmond Tutu, my father used to say, don't raise your don't raise your voice, improve your argument. D. Ellington, the problem is a chance to do your best. Howard Jean, we all have an enormous responsibility to bring to attention the information they do not have, which has a potential to causing them to rethink long held ideas. 20. Elon Musk. I think it is important to reason from the first principle rather by analogy. The, no- the normal way we conduct our lives, the reason by analogy. We are doing thing, it is like something else that was done, or it is like what others are doing. You boil down things to most fundamental truths and then a reason of there. 21st, James Baldwin. The paradox of education is precisely this, that as one begins to become conscious, one begins to examine to the society in which he is educated. The purpose of education finally is to create in a person the ability to look at the world for himself, to make his decisions, to say to himself this is black or this is white, to decide for himself whether there is a God in heaven or not, to ask questions of universe and then learn to live with those questions is the way he achieves his identity. But no society is anxious to have that kind of person around. But society is really what society really ideally want a citizenry which will simply obey the rules of a society and try to change it and fight it at no other no other matter what risk. This is the this is the only hope society has. This is the only way society change. 22. John Piaget. The principal goal of education in school should be creating men who are capable of doing new things, not simply repeating what others have done. Men and women who are creative, inventive, and discoverers who can be critical and verify and not accepting everything they are offered. John Dewey, conflict is gadfly of a thought. It stirs up observations and memory. It instigates to inventions. It shocks us out of a sheep-like passivity and sets at nothing and nothing and convincing. The conflict is a sine qua non of reflection and ingenuity. Jonathan Haidt. We should not expect individuals to produce good, open minded, truth seeking reasoning, particularly when self interest or a reputation concern are in play. But if you put individuals together in right way, such that some individuals can use their reasoning power to dis- disconfirm the claim of others, and all individuals feel some common bond and shared faith that allows them to interact civility. You can create a ground that ends up produce good reasoning as an emergent property of a social system. This is why it is important to have intellectual and intellectual diversity within any group or institution whose goal is to find truth to produce good policy. J.W. Fulbright. We must dare to think about unthinkable things because when things become unthinkable, thinking people stops and actions become mindless. 26. L. Barter. You want to prepare your child to think as they get older. You want them to be critical in their judgment, teaching a child by your example that there is never any room for negotiation or making choices in life. Many suggest that you expect blind obedience, but it would not help them. in a long run. To be discriminating choice, to be discriminating in a choice and a thinking. 27. Leo Tolstoy. Free thinkers are those who are willing to use their minds without prejudice and without fearing to understand things that clash with their own custom, privileges, belief. This set of mind is not common, but it is essential for critical thinking. Marie Curie. Nothing in a life is to be feared, it is to be understood. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. To think incisively and to think for oneself is very difficult. We are prone to our mental life invaded by invaded invaded by legions of half-truth, prejudices, propaganda. At the point, I often wonder whether or not education is fulfilling its purpose. A great majority of so-called educated people do not think scientifically and logically. Even the press, the classroom, the platform, the pulpit do not give up in many instances do not give us objectives, unbiased truth to save man from morass of propaganda, in my opinion, is one of the chief aim of education. Education must enable us to shift and weigh evidence to discern true from false, the real from unreal, the facts from fiction. The function of education, therefore, is to teach one to think intensively and think critically. Thank you, everybody.